Hello, welcome back to me yapping for 15 minutes. Today is November 17th, 2025. I have been working non-stop for my startup and I'm about to launch my SaaS app, which is a AI visualizer, this Wednesday, which is going to be in 2 days. I'm very excited. There are so many things to do and there has been a lot of times that I'm in the cycle of self-doubt. Am I doing the right thing? Or are there anything that I'm missing? What is the better way of fixing a situation? And that's just a lot of decision-making process. And I used to use ChatGPT a lot. And I realized that it has been feeding what I want to hear, and it's always very difficult and scary to be in your own mind loop. So I started using Claude since last month because I want to do a reset of my life, trying to figure out what is the best way to have a more objective lens towards the life and then strategize for next quarter, next year. And it has been really helpful because for Claude you can create instructions, and I've written very detailed instructions about how it should reply to me, and then I realized that I'm very good with tough love rather than just very enabling responses. And it also has helped me to defend for my decisions. Sometimes the Claude will be like, stop what you're doing, you're not doing the right thing. And then he would explain why based on my instructions. And then I would push back because he doesn't know the full picture. And then I was just not really showing him what I had accomplished. And that has helped me to just stand up for myself. And it's very good practice, actually. And last week, let's see what I've accomplished. Last week, I'm beginning to feel a sense of control in my life in terms of the structure. For instance, for me, every Sunday I do not social because that's my rest day and I do not want to, interfere with me spending time with myself. And then it's a privilege to spend time with yourself without any distractions. And I've been doing that. And then this Sunday, yesterday, I was looking into what are some good ways to make my Sunday better because I'm a sucker for self-improvement. And so I asked Claude again, and I was telling Claude how I normally would spend my Sunday, which involves cleaning the apartment, doing chores, meal prep for the week, and maybe go out running errands, doing laundry, and do an artist date, which is taken from the book The Artist's Way, where she was talking about how it's important to recharge your creative self, and I've been doing that for a long time. And I've benefited from that by being less of a perfectionist. So I've been doing that every Sunday, but it became a little bit less structured in a way that sometimes I would just chill and binge watch shows, which is totally fine because sometimes I need a rest. But lately I began to realize that binging is not really a meaningful rest for me. It's just an excuse for me to have something on and call it a rest. And sometimes I don't feel like I'm recharged after watching the show. It's just like, oh, I killed time, and that's it. My mind is not rejuvenated from the so-called rest. And yesterday, I was actually in the midst of multitasking, watching shows while talking to Claude. And then after realizing that binging is not helping me, I just quit the show. Because I was like, I can't do this, because it really depends on me to get my life back together, even though my life doesn't really need to be gotten back together. But it's a way of saying I just want to make sure that my time is utilized more efficiently and more rejuvenating. And then I reflected about the times that I felt very happy and recharged after doing certain things. And I realized that making music or singing, coming up with any melody ideas is just so fascinating, because I love creating and I will never stop. But there are some days where, because I was binge watching shows, I was not focusing on creation. I was more consuming the content. And I also used to doom scroll on IG, and I felt like, every day I can just do a digital journal of things that I've done on my stories. And I realized that for IG, it's good that you post on stories, but it's better if you do the same thing on Reels, or maybe create a carousel to do a recap. So last week I actually did a recap of the October events that I've hosted. I actually hosted one Vibes Jam, which is a music jam and demo of my app event. And then I also did a demo at a tech conference. And then I performed with my new music in Bushwick. And that's a 40-minute long set where I did both singing and the visuals using my app. So I did a lot of promotion for my company. And I also created new things. So October was a lot of firsts, of experimenting and experiencing what it's like to be a founder, which is excellent to see everything from a bird's eye view. Like you zoom out and then you get to see the amount of accomplishments you have done within a month. That's very recharging for me too, because I am impatient, because I have high expectations with myself, which is why I've also trying to be more imperfect in the things that I do, because if I get too obsessed with being high quality in everything I do, like cooking, coding, visual designing, music making, I won't really have time in my life to just chill and just be. Yeah. And then we were talking about the Sunday restructuring, and I started creating the calendar of having my Sunday to structure it based on time block. And it's very simple. After everything that I needed to do for the house, for the apartment, I would just do 1 hour of music creation, 1 hour of reading, and 1 hour of reviewing of the past week, and then 1 hour of writing, because normally every Monday I would write Substack to talk about the messy truths of running a company solo and just being a female founder in music tech. And that has been going very consistently, and I really enjoying writing, because I consider writing a fundamental step to practice storytelling, and that also has helped in terms of speaking. And I also tend to reflect a bunch about what is happening in my life, what are some things that I can weigh in terms of the priorities that I should do for each day. Like, if you were to open my mind and see what my brain is functioning, it should probably be an endless maze where at the beginning of each maze, there will be different tasks that I have. And then I would also come up with more tasks for my never-ending list. It would be just instantiation of so many different kinds of mazes, and then it would be so crazy. So now I'm trying to convert all these different mazes in my mind in a system where it more seems like a factory that has a division of labor. Like you do the strategy, and then you plan, and then you evaluate if the task that you came up with aligns with the goal that you set. If so, for how long? Like, what's the deadline? Things like that. That's very exciting, and but a lot of work, which I'm very happy that I have Sunday, the whole day, to just do review. And since now it's almost past mid-November, we only have less than 6 weeks till the end of the year. I'm more in a reflective mind, and there are so many things, like so many public things I'm doing as well, but I'm recentering to myself. Things that I want to accomplish for next year, what I've accomplished this year, and compare with the previous year. I do vision board parties, and I would love to have a strategy, because I used to have a bunch of tasks, and then sometimes I don't have a timeline for it, and then I'll just be like, oh, if I finish my task today, the new tasks I came up with, I will just finish it today. But sometimes they are not as urgent. And as I grow older, the time that I feel I have control of is more, but then there's also higher stake of the time that I get to utilize. Because in your life, your time is divided between work, relationship building, relationship with yourself, family, and if you're single like I am, there's also dating. And I know my friend who basically takes on dating as her full-time job, on top of her being a freelance, doing other work as well. And she went on so many dates, and after 3 months of constantly going on dates, she finally finds someone who is very good. Like, there's no ick from him, which is very inspiring. And so I started dating. I made my profile on Hinge 4 months ago, and I got the ick every time I opened Hinge. But there was a shift of mindset where I was just gonna make friends. I was just gonna talk to people who I find interesting, and then just focus on that part. There's no particular end goal that's so strict that I would have to find a marriage partner, or I would have to find a long-term relationship, because I've been in monogamy for my past relationships, and I don't think I've explored anything else, and I would love to explore more, because one of the principles I live by is you can only give advice of things that you've experienced. And so I wouldn't ask my monogamous friends about their views on polyamory, right? And I wouldn't ask my straight friends on their view about being bi or being queer. And for me, there are so many unknown. Like, I don't know about my sexuality because I've only experienced monogamy and straight, with heterosexual monogamy. And so this year and the next year will just be me exploring. And then it's also the same with me running a company, I'm also exploring as well. This is my first company and it's considered normal to fail, but technically I don't want my company to fail, and I've been doing so much more in terms of iterating fast and then trying to get consumers. And last week it was very daunting for me to start selling my app as a service for agencies, and I have no clue how to get started, and then just constantly doing cold emailing. And the first day when I started doing cold emailing, it was very, very mentally draining, because basically I was rejecting myself before doing anything. So it was very low mental energy that I had when I first started. And I also had no clue about sales. And I was also using the no response as a way to criticize my app, which doesn't really make sense, because they can't criticize the app without using it, and they just didn't reply yet. So I started automating my system a little bit more so that I can just do research of a bunch of cold emails I'm about to send to, but then automate 15 emails each day, and then I set up the follow-up pipeline of the whole life cycle of, first is intro of what my company does, what my company can help, and I personalize every email so that they know it's addressing them. And then the second email will be, not sure if you have time, blah, blah, blah. If you want to know more, we do similar events like your previous client projects, and then I gave them the link of my calendar so that they can book meetings. And then the third will be, another reminder, and the fourth will be like, guess now is not a good time, and then I'll just end it. So the whole follow-up emails, the pipeline, they are all automated, which I'm very happy of, but it did take me 2 days to come up with the cold emailing pipeline. And I think it's very important to have the strategy and the pipeline that goes along with it, so that your day is filled with the routines like that, and then you just constantly iterate based on the feedback from previous day. And now I've been looking at the data on, the amount of emails I sent, the amount of views I got from each email, and the link clicking, and the reply. And I became impatient once again, because I wanted them to reply faster. But then again, I'm doing B2B sales, and the sales cycle is normally 60 to 90 days. Knowing that, it makes me feel so much better, because I was expecting, how you normally DM or talk to your friends, you can get immediate response. So that's pretty much what I learned from last week, and I'm aiming to do more of this, reflection after dinner before I go for a walk. I'm trying to make my life more routine, but still brings me energy. Because normally around this time, I would have dinner. Normally around this time, I would be having my lunch while binge watching shows. And then that would be an hour long. And I would not be moving my body. I would not be getting the vitamin D every day. It's just not healthy. It's just not ideal for me. So I'm glad to be able to share more than 50 minutes of content with you, and I'll see you tomorrow.